Hello comic book fans, here's Earl Grey, and today I want to talk about a small but peculiar and a bit strange part of my comic book collection. Comics about real serial killers that actually existed. And I want to focus especially on From Hell, written by Alan Moore, of course, but have a quick mention of these other three books. This by Derv Beckderv, about his school colleague Jeffrey Dahmer. Did a panellogy about this book with a very strange cartoony style, but very personal, very interesting, a real unique take on the sub genre of serial killer comics. Totally another take, a bit more with more distance to his subject, is this book from John J. Muth, M, a city looking for its murder. It's a reenactment of Fritz Lang's movie of the same name. It was never my favorite comic of all time, at least, because it's so obviously done with photographies that were reworked, overpainted. Looks in part pretty interesting, but still has this character of a photo comic for me, and that's sometimes a bit problematic. And I don't like this font either. Hand lettering would be a better choice for it. But the plot relates to the Fritz Hamann, a serial killer by that name. And another book I've already talked about, don't know in which panellogy. It's The Green River Killer, a true detective story by Jonathan Case, in co-work with the son from the detective that had investigated the case of Gary Leon Ridgway. And from the three books that I've shown you already, this is my favorite. I think it's a bit subdued. It focuses very much on the police work. Very serious, very focused book, I think. But of course, they all are blown away by this book here. And yeah, my review of sorts will contain some spoilers. So maybe you have to stop this video. But I have to say that actually just the cover alone gives everything away, because this guy here, surprise, surprise, is identified by Alan Moore as Jack the Ripper. And this assumption bases on, here you have that guy, and here's, I guess, his henchman, yes, the coachman Netley. And this assumption is based on some previous book by one Stephen Knight or so, who claimed to have the final solution for the question who killed the 5 or 4 women, depends on how you count them, that were allegedly killed by one Jack the Ripper. He's the surgeon of her Majesty Queen Victoria, of the British Majesty Queen, her Queen Victoria. And therefore, all the stuff here is a bit of a conspiracy plot. And like all conspiracy plots, it has a bit the disadvantage that too many people would have been involved in this conspiracy. So there's a quite a number of people, if I go through the story, that knew, should have known who the killer was. And it's quite, it's hard to believe that nobody of them would have given anything away, haven't told their children or grandchildren, or have written down something that would have turned up later on, so that this mystery would have been revealed. Last but not least, and according to a bit of Wikipedia research of my own, this Sir William Gull, who should be the Ripper, was by the time of the murders, 1888, an old and very sick man. And that is all documented and known. So I would raise the question, would really Queen Victoria, who plays a role here, maybe we can find her, yeah, would Queen Victoria rely on quite a private crisis of her family on such a man? The idea behind the conspiracy plot is that her grandson, Prince Albert, called Prince Eddie, had a child with a sweet shop girl, and that wasn't allowed to happen, and hence they put the poor girl, the poor mother, away, divided her from her child, and Mr. William Gull has allegedly his dirty hands in it, and he made her mad by an operation which involved somehow the thyroid gland. That affair didn't stay unnoticed. Especially some friends of the sweet shop girl tried to blackmail without really knowing what's going on, but they tried to blackmail the royal family, and that wasn't a good idea, because Queen Victoria allegedly put that monster surgeon William Gull on her traces, and the evil came into the world, like in the same time Adolf Hitler was conceived in this scene here. So Alan Moore paints a real big historic picture, and for everyone who is interested in the 19th century and the roots of the 20th century in it, should read this book. Even the conspiracy theory is a bit shaky, to be honest, if you think about it a bit more. Alan Moore did a tremendous job of making all the stuff here believable, and it's absolutely possible that this stuff here happens in somehow a similar way how Alan Moore and Eddie Campbell, the artist here, described it. And it has the book has a terrible amount of annotations here. And I've read this book almost the whole time with this back flap here, and so I could read the comic and all the annotation material from Alan Moore at the same time, or accordingly, because it's rather interesting how many, what a chore Alan Moore did. Up to the point where it's a bit too much, and it's a bit too ambitious and too much diligence, a bit got this pushing idea of Alan Moore wants to do this great work, and maybe the whole stuff could be a bit shorter. It has some lengths, in my opinion. But of course, it's a great comic, and Eddie Campbell's art, which looks a bit sloppy sometimes. So for an example, look at this face. It doesn't look like too great art here. But just in the panel before, you get real good blend of sketchy but perfect art that really nails the expression of that woman here. So the art is sometimes hides really almost behind use of cross-hatching and stuff, and all these graphisms, the sketch stuff, like the story of Jack the Ripper, is a bit sunken in the fogs of time, the cross-hatchings of time, if you get what I'm saying. But it's really exact. He does perfect the right thing. It would be terrible, I think, if we would have a writer like Alan Moore who tries to do everything here to pull out this great work of history comic, always pushing a bit too hard maybe, and you get the impression of, how do you call the pupils in school who always put their finger up and want to be the best. And if you have one writer like him coupled with an artist who would have done the same, and all would be photorealistic, even though you can't be photorealistic. I guess this one here is the aforementioned Prince Albert. Of course, he used photo references where he could get it, and all the views from the London streets of that time are pretty accurate, and stuff like that. Alan Moore actually says in the back appendix here, that if they had included the research from Campbell about this comic, it would have been double or triple as long as his own appendix. So, yeah. A real dense, a bit challenging book for me, especially as you can clearly hear once again that I'm no native English speaker. And it's a bit challenging, especially the London dialect is somehow times a bit a riddle for me. But that makes this book, the atmosphere, adds up to the atmosphere of the book. And I don't want, by any means of the world, would like to read the German translation, rather read the German translation. Because this is really interesting how they reenact this 19th century society, and it's a bitter social commentary on the world of that day. People, especially the prostitutes, the people in the shadier parts of London, which made up at that time a big part of London, had to live under unbelievable circumstances. They have to sleep on a bench tied with a rope to the wall to prevent that they fall over, and stuff like that, and have to sell their bodies just to manage to get their little dose money to have some place to sleep. They really haven't anything more than their bodies, and so. And on the other side, there's the society that delves in obscure snobisms and ambitious Freemasonry rituals that play a big role in this conspiracy theory here. It's all a Freemason conspiracy theory if you take this comic word by word and picture by picture. But anyhow, as I said it's a must-read, I think, and for everyone who thinks that comics are just funny books, give them this book here. Even they won't maybe come around to read it, but they will see that comics are much more than superheroes and funny books. They can really be a tour de force, and you won't feel better after this book. But yeah. So, thanks for listening and watching. Goodbye.